So as I just said, if you can hear us loud and clear, that means you're interested in the Fulbright Scholar in Residence program. Today we're going over an overview for our current cycle, which is recruiting for the 2022-2023 cycle. My name is Sarah Causer. I'm an outreach and recruitment specialist. I've been with IIE for about 9 years and working about 7 of those years on Fulbright. So I'm very encouraged to again see the turnout for this session and really work and partner with you all as U.S. institutions to bring these wonderful visiting scholars to your campus. Today I'm joined by Vincent Pickett from the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs through the U.S. Department of State. Vincent, would you like to say a quick hello?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Sarah, for hosting this, and thanks to the team over at IE for all the work that you guys are doing for the SIR program. We are thrilled to see so much interest in this for this cycle. I think it's a lot of pent-up interest over the last year plus of uncertainty in education in the U.S. and abroad. But I'm just really thrilled to be here representing the U.S. Department of State. And I just wanted to talk just very briefly about our interest and our role in the program. As you all, I'm sure know, the U.S. Department of State is the sponsor of the Fulbright program, which is a flagship program of the U.S. government. Over the years, Fulbright has brought over 400,000 U.S. citizens and foreigners to study abroad and to research abroad and to teach abroad. And this is a really exciting year for us as well, as it's the 75th anniversary of the Fulbright program. And one of the main focuses that we have this year in our 75th anniversary is we're celebrating the impact of the program, but also we're celebrating the diversity that the program brings and the diversity that historically the program has highlighted and has sought to further, because as you know, the Fulbright program reflects a wide breadth of U.S. society, in that we'd like to have Fulbrighters who go abroad from the United States look like America in all of its different forms, its different backgrounds, locations, whatever. And the SIR program, we really want to help campuses bring individuals from all over the world so they can experience all the different parts of America. And I see in the chat there's a lot of folks who are sort of chiming in, and I saw the list of people who've signed up from all over the country. From everywhere from the East Coast to the West Coast, from Slippery Rock University in Western Pennsylvania. I'm glad that there is interest in this program. It's been institutionally, it's been a really important driver for us to help campuses with their internationalization plans. And I think that, that means something different on each campus, but I know that bringing an SIR over to teach courses or do lectures on topics of their expertise really does add not just the coursework, but the perspective that an international scholar brings. And I think this program is very special to us as something that's helped us to sort of drive more diversity within the Fulbright program as well. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. I'm actually standing in for Mr. David Levin, who some of you may know, who's our longstanding SIR director here at the Department of State, and has worked with IE on this program for a very long time. So David couldn't make it today, so I am a poor substitute. But one thing that I can do is be brief so that the work, the information and the work that IE has done to put this together can be on full display. So I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for attending, and we hope to see some really great applications, and from those applications, hear some really amazing stories eventually when SIRs come to campus and make a great impact. So with that, I'm going to turn it over, I believe, to Greta, and we're going to move along. But thank you so much for having me, and thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you so much, Vincent. My name is Greta Scharnweber, and I'm the director of the Fulbright Visiting Scholar Program at IIE. And the Scholar in Residence program is an important part of the Visiting Scholar program. And each year we host in the United States roughly 1,000 scholars from more than 100 countries around the world. And the SIR program in particular, as one of a sort of the smaller part of the Visiting Scholar program, this is one of the Fulbright programs that really seeks to serve your institutional needs in terms of the internationalization efforts you are making on your campuses. And it also is a program that's wide open in terms of the subject matter with which you can engage your proposed visiting scholar. So I thank you for making the time today to learn more about the Scholar in Residence program and its fit for your needs. And hopefully we'll be able to address some of your preliminary questions about applying for the program. But most of all, I hope we will have the pleasure of receiving your application later on this year. With that, I'm going to turn the microphone back to my colleague, Sarah, who will give us a presentation overview.
Thanks so much, Vincent and Greta. I really appreciate that. All right, so diving quickly in, we went over our introductions, but first off, we're going to cover a quick overview of the Scholar in Residence program. Then my colleague Greta will take us through application components. At the end, we will share some tools and resources that we've made available to really help you as you are crafting these applications. We want you to be as successful as possible, so we really are here to help you along that way. And then we will close it out with some other opportunities that your institution can utilize to continue to internationalize your campuses. And we will have time at the end for some questions and answers. So if you do have questions throughout the presentation, I encourage you to submit them through the Q&A tablet on your screen. We will address them at the end. And just to reiterate, this session is being recorded and we will load it on our website as well as share it with all of you who have registered and are attending. So you don't have to worry about navigating to the website. As soon as it's up and ready to go, I will make sure to get an email out to all of you. So quickly diving into an overview of the program itself was established in 1946 by Congress. To this day, it is still the United States government's flagship international educational and cultural exchange program. As Vincent mentioned, the program is sponsored by the U.S. Department of State with funding by the U.S. government, and it is administered by the Institute of International Education. The program itself works in partnership with 160 countries worldwide. As a whole, the program offers opportunities for students, scholars, academics, faculty, professionals from all backgrounds, an opportunity to study, teach, and conduct research. What we're really focusing on today, though, is opportunity for you as U.S. institutions to craft an application to bring a scholar either of your choosing, or you can work with us to find a scholar that really fits what your institution is looking for. But it allows you to bring that scholar to your campus to teach. So that's really what we're going to focus the remaining part of this presentation on. What is really essential, and as Vincent said, we're in our 75th year, we really want to underscore, is our program's mission is to foster mutual understanding between nations, advance knowledge across communities, and improve lives around the world. This is really central to any application you will ever complete for Fulbright, be it a student, a U.S. scholar going abroad, or even the Scholar in Residence program. It's really important to have this at the heart of your application. So do remember that mission as you do continue to consider Fulbright from here onwards. Vincent really did a great job of really highlighting diversity and inclusion. It is very important to us at IIE as well as the U.S. Department of State for us to really include all walks of life within this program. For those, when we're sending U.S. scholars abroad, we want to make sure we're not only showcasing the best and brightest that the United States has to offer, but we want to make sure that everyone is represented. And the same can be said for those that we are bringing into the United States. We want to make sure that all people feel that they are a part of this program. And you can see on this screen that full statement. So before I pass the reins over to Greta, what I really want to talk about a little bit more is diving into what the Scholar in Residence program is. We do refer to it as SIR for short, so if you see that in any further communications, do know that that is the abbreviation for this program. But the Scholar in Residence program is a wonderful opportunity for you as U.S. institutions to bring scholars and faculty members from abroad to your campus. So they might have this opportunity to serve as a host scholar and have a strong international presence. The program helps with internationalizing your campus, and it allows you to develop courses moving forward. These scholars can teach at either the undergrad or the graduate level any academic courses for either semester or full academic year. It does provide a cross-cultural international perspective for your campus, and the application, as I mentioned earlier, is made by you as the interested U.S. institution. So you really craft the needs that you have here in the United States. There is no preference, again, if you want to bring someone for a semester or a full academic year. So while we traditionally have about 900 Fulbright visiting scholars on campuses around the U.S., a vast majority of them are really working on research projects. So what really sets this program apart, aside from the fact that you are driving the process as U.S. institutions, is that these scholars are highly integrated into the campus and community life. These scholars end up teaching full course loads. They can assist in curriculum development. They can help you develop and foster study abroad exchanges and partnerships, providing that cross-cultural and international perspective. And then they really engage with the larger community on campus, as well as that local community around you. These scholars tend to be viewed as all-stars because they're not just housed traditionally in one department. They really do get a full sense and experience to the wider campus. The application, as we said, is made by you as the institution. We open it in March, and it has a deadline for the 2022-2023 year of October 15th. If you need to reach out to us, the email is sir@iie.org, and we have that on the very last slide as well. I'll put that in the chat in just a moment, but we're really happy to facilitate any questions you might have. And with that, I believe I will pass the reins over to Greta.
Hello. So I'm going to speak a bit about some of the program benefits that Scholar in Residence exchanges generate, whether for the host or the scholar. Before jumping into this, I will say that nearly all Fulbrighters, whether they're hosts of Fulbrighters or exchange visitors themselves, do cite their Fulbright exchange as a transformational experience, and the Scholar in Residence program is no exception. Both the host institution itself gains new knowledge, new courses, and the individual perspective from the scholar they're hosting. And the U.S. students that they're teaching will learn about their particular world region or country. When the scholar returns home, their experience gained at your institutions have an impact on their individual career, their broader research field, their home institution and community, and of course, their students. So you can see how clear it is that the benefits of participating in the SIR exchange program extend long after the grant period is over. Some of the outcomes and impact, and these are just a few examples of things that Scholar in Residence hosts and scholars have worked on together, include developing new area studies programs that look at particular regions of the world, adding an international dimension to an existing course, or developing an entirely new course focused on an area that the scholar has expertise in. They may expand curricular programs beyond one course offered by a particular department or a cluster of departments. They may establish or continue a study abroad program, and they may establish virtual exchange or online courses, and any number of follow-on activities that may extend after the relationship is established through the actual exchange. So, and these are by no means exhaustive examples. They are just ways to inspire you to think about what you're already working on your campuses, or what you've been wanting to work on but lacked the initiative or the energy that bringing a scholar would infuse into getting that work done. So could we advance to the next slide, please? And before we talk more about the meat of the application, we should go over some of the basic eligibility requirements. As Sarah has mentioned, as I have mentioned, the unique thing about the Scholar in Residence program is that U.S. institutions are the initial applicants for this award, and the competition is open to all accredited U.S. institutions of higher education. Non-U.S. institutions are not eligible to apply. Similarly, foreign, or on the flip side of that, foreign scholars are eligible to serve as scholars in residence, but anyone who is a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident of the United States are ineligible to serve. So this really should be a scholar from another country coming to a U.S. institution of higher education to impart knowledge and to share in each other's knowledge and experience throughout the exchange in the United States. The scholar teaching responsibilities are limited to a maximum of 2 courses per semester. We feel that this ensures that the scholar has time to engage beyond their teaching load and bring more of a benefit to your broader campus community and to the community outside of your campus. So that is an important eligibility requirement to limit the teaching load. Finally, there is a grant length minimum. We feel the minimum amount of time to make an impact, a lasting and meaningful relationship between the scholar and the host institution, faculty, and students is a minimum of 3 months, and grant lengths are a maximum of 10 months to accommodate an academic year proposal. A couple of notes that are not authorized as part of the Scholar in Residence program is that proposals should not authorize any engagement in pastoral, missionary, or other professional religious activities. And proposals should not authorize engagement in activities for which a license to practice medicine or nursing is required. So there are some limitations in terms of licensure, but other than that, your needs do drive the shape of your proposal in terms of the subject matter you can engage. Next slide. So the application for the 2022 to 2023 academic year is open. It is online through a system called Slate, and the deadline for submission is not until October 15th, 2021. So you have plenty of time to work to mobilize resources on your campus, to think about what you may propose. And I just want to underscore that IIE, the Fulbright staff at IIE are here for you to help you work through your questions should you have them. In a very basic sense, the contents of the application are primarily short answer essay or relatively straightforward to complete fields. That includes a section on institutional information. So we want to know more about your institution of higher education, some of the key contacts who will be responsible for the scholar while they're on their exchange, a bit about the program that you're proposing, information about the scholar, a project statement that really is the meat of the proposal that you would be writing, where you get to go into more detail about your internationalization efforts and really make a case for why the scholar you are either proposing or would like us to recruit would help you achieve your institutional goals in internationalization. And that is the only section of the application itself that is an essay format, and it's uploadable as a PDF. Everything else you would plug into the application fields. Finally, there is an institutional support section where you would detail more information about who is going to be engaged through your proposed program and a way for you to share the support that you're able to gather from your institution and from your community to host a foreign scholar for the period of time you're proposing. Next slide. So I'm going to get into a little greater detail about what each of these categories is looking for or is asking about. These first two categories of institutional information and institutional contacts are really looking to gather some basic information about the nature of your proposal and who is who are the primary people with whom we would work to implement your program if you were selected. So the first thing to note is whether your proposal type is your institution alone or whether you're partnering with another institution to host a scholar. We do accept joint applications from two institutions working together. We want to know a little bit about the location where your institution is. The community in which you are located does impact your scholar's experience and should inform the types of activities that you're proposing through your SIR proposal. We're very curious about the size and characteristics of your student body and faculty. So anything about your institution that you feel we should know to understand the nature of your institution and its audience and community would be noted in the institutional information section. We want to know about your university or college or campus's overall mission. And we're looking for your overall scope of your academic offerings so that we understand, undergraduate versus graduate, what your disciplinary strengths are, the types of degrees offered, and so forth. So finally, we're also looking to know if you have previously hosted a scholar in residence in the past, and there is a place where you would explain later in the application where you make the argument for why a repeat scholar in residence, whether it's usually a new scholar in residence participant, would help you take your internationalization goals even further. Usually we ask that people share 3 institutional contacts or consider these, sometimes it's the same person, but consider these realms for what the scholar would need while they're on campus. So we need someone to serve as the responsible administrative official. This should be a university representative who has the authority to officially approve on behalf of your institution the reception of a foreign scholar and hosting them officially through your campus. We also seek principal contacts for both academic and non-academic arrangements. So sometimes this is more than one person. You might have one faculty member, for example, serving as the principal contact for academic arrangements and so forth, and another point person who might be helping the scholar with logistics, whether anything from setting up their local email account and orienting them to office space and classroom space, to other myriad logistical concerns. And we're also looking in this section for some of the oversight for the program. And this tends to be important as IIE works with each institution throughout the year, and there are some reporting requirements throughout your exchange that we follow up about. So these people are important to the success of your program and to the experience of yourselves and your scholar. Next slide, please. Next in the application, we'd be looking to gather more information from institutions about your program dates and length. We've already talked about this. We'd be looking for a few sentences summarizing your proposal plan, similar to a brief abstract. We would be looking for some detail on the academic program of your scholar, such as the courses or subjects they might teach. And again, I will note that maximum of 2 courses per semester. You can also include if there are any research-related components to what your institution is able to offer the scholar in this academic program section. Finally, additionally, there is the campus activity engagement section where you could describe events or activities in addition to the teaching of courses that might extend beyond the immediate attendees in the course of the scholar. And then community outreach would include efforts beyond your campus to involve the scholar. Often we see the engagement of local libraries or local K-12 institutions or other types of community organizations or community activities and efforts. Next slide, please. So as Sarah alluded to earlier, with the Scholar in Residence program, you can apply through one of two tracks. You may have a particular scholar with whom you'd like to work, with whom you have a prior relationship, with whom you've been building a collaboration over a period of time, or someone that you know less well, but who seems to fit the needs of your proposal. So that would be a named scholar. You are able to select the scholar that you apply with. And in the case of a named scholar, you would be asked to detail that specific individual's academic discipline and specialization, as well as some of their biographical data. Of course, their English proficiency is going to be very important to their success teaching at your institution. And we'll want you to tell us a bit about your relationship with this individual. And then there are some logistical matters, such as would the scholar be coming with dependents, with their families, or would they be coming on their own? We're really looking for the rationale that your institution has for selecting that particular scholar, including their country background, in addition to their expertise background. And then, of course, there are the documents for upload, such as the scholar's CV, as well as 2 letters of invitation. One of the letters should speak to the scholar's teaching ability, since the primary activity of the Scholar in Residence program is teaching. Okay, and if you don't have a specific scholar in mind, or need assistance making those connections, that is fine. There is no competitive preference between naming a scholar or recruiting a scholar. So you can apply requesting the recruitment of a scholar by Fulbright offices around the world. If you select this option, you would be able to choose you would be able to select 2 different countries within one particular world region. And these regions and countries are listed on our website, and they appear in the application. If you don't see the country that you're particularly interested in applying for, please reach out to us, and we'll discuss your case individually. And we can talk through if it's possible to engage with that scholar and country. So in the proposal, you would include information about the type of scholar you would like to recruit. So just as with the named, we'd want to know what areas of expertise would be of interest and suit your needs, what regional background would suit your interests and needs, and any other specialized information that are critical to your program's success. And equally important to some of the more broad sort of subject expertise, we would ask that you outline the credentials of the scholar required, if there are any particular institutional teaching experience requirements or credential requirements that they would need to have in place in order to teach on your campuses. This helps us with recruitment and helps us get a fit that works for selected institutions. And if you have any questions about that, you can always reach out to us at sir@iie.org. So the key thing, whether you are naming or asking for a scholar to be recruited, the key thing, in short, to sum up, is for you to make a compelling argument for why and how the proposed area of expertise, as well as the country or regional background of the named or recruited scholar, would contribute to your institution's international internationalization goals. Next slide. So the project statement is the only essay component in the application, and it is relatively brief. Up to 5 pages is the maximum length of your project statement. And we would like to hear through this statement what your current experience is and the current status of the internationalization efforts are on your campus, and what you seek to improve or further from that baseline. We're looking for you to convey both your short as well as your long-term goals with those internationalization efforts. And we're also looking for sustainability. And then just logistically speaking, you can, this is a simple upload of an essay, so you can work on this well in advance. And there are more program instructions online and associated with the application itself. Next slide, please. In addition to the project statement, we have an area where you're able to show institutional support. So we would ask for a letter from a responsible administrative official. This is, again, that person who has the capacity and authority to approve hosting a foreign scholar on your campus. And that is one letter that's required from all applicants. And then in the letters of community support section, you would be able to upload letters, if applicable. I mean, only you know your institutions, but university presidents or provosts, if you're working from within a department, you could include letters from your university leadership. You could include letters from local community organizations that you intend to work with, like those libraries and K-12 schools I referenced earlier. This is a freer form area where you could really showcase what your community has to offer the scholar and what your scholar could offer those resources. This is also where you are encouraged to think creatively about in-kind support and any cost sharing your institution might be able to do. And I rush to say that cost share is not a requirement of the Scholar in Residence program. You do not need to make a financial commitment to Fulbright to apply for the Scholar in Residence program. The scholar is supported with a stipend and modest living expenses. So this is not a program where financial commitment is required from applicant institutions. But I want to note that in-kind support is often so valuable to creating a positive experience for the scholar and for the host institution. Considering how your host community might be able to help with arranging housing in advance of arrival, for example, even if that housing has to be paid for out of the stipend. How could the community contribute in terms of transit from the airport at arrival? So things as basic as that to more detailed sort of social integration into the campus is all part of the package that makes, you know, a little bit of effort really takes the program in the direction of being more productive, more positive, and a deeper engagement for both host and scholar. Finally, professional enrichment. There is, I mentioned this earlier, if you are able, if your campus or your local community is able to offer any access to campus libraries, archives, labs, other training opportunities, working groups, local conferences, these types of engagement that might be a benefit to your scholar could be included in this section on institutional support. Next slide, please. So once we receive your application, we will be evaluating all applicants against the same review criteria. We're looking at the impact and outcome for the host institution. We are very interested in, as I've said repeatedly throughout the presentation, that you are sharing a clear view of your institution's current internationalization efforts, and you're dealing how the SIR Scholar will contribute to both your short and long-term internationalization goals. We love to see high engagement, both academic and community outreach, that ensure the scholar is engaged in life outside of the classroom, including those professional enrichment opportunities for the scholar. And we're also looking for sustainability, the sustainable impact of the SIR's presence. So building that relationship beyond the grant program and looking at this exchange as perhaps the beginning of something longer. We're also looking to make sure that the proposal demonstrates the need for this project to be completed with that particular scholar or with that particular expertise from that region or country. In the quality of proposal, we're looking to see that the academic program of the scholar is feasible and that the scholar's profile meets the stated needs of the program. We're seeing that you demonstrate your institution's capacity to support the scholars program on campus and in the larger community. And that means support in terms of those contact individuals I mentioned. Will they have the resources they need to get their, to teach their courses and so on and so forth. So please make that case very clear. And included in that is the institution needs to show commitment to the scholar in residence with adequate plans for oversight as exemplified through those key personnel positions I mentioned, those key contact individuals. In terms of diversity and geographic distribution, I will restate what my colleagues have stated. Fulbright strives to ensure that it reflects the diversity of U.S. society and societies abroad. We encourage the involvement of people from traditionally underrepresented audiences in all our grants, programs, and other initiatives. And we work to ensure Fulbright reaches a diverse range of U.S. institutional types. Share the ways, make sure you're sharing the ways in which your proposal contributes to these core Fulbright values. And as mentioned earlier, you will be asked to, if you have previously hosted a scholar in residence, you would be asked to provide a compelling justification for repeating a scholar in residence exchange placement if this applies to you. Next slide. Oh, I think now I should be turning things over to Sarah, who will go through the review process and timeline. But I do want to indicate that this is a challenging time for all of us in terms of the global pandemic. And this timeline that's on this slide applies to this particular program cycle for 2022 to 2023 exchanges only. So for future program cycles, we just want to encourage that you check back with our website frequently because we do anticipate shifts in the program timeline moving forward after this cycle. So again, always come back and check with our website if you're looking for the latest information on important dates like deadlines and upcoming webinars. So with that, I will turn this slide on the review process over to my colleague, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. Good to speak with you all again. So as Greta was saying, for the 2022 to 2023 cycle, we opened it in February with our expression of interest. So from February all the way through May 15th, we're soliciting and collecting your interest in the program. From here, we can actually set up advising sessions with you and your colleagues to really get your foot off on the right path to really start your interest. If you do not express interest before May 15th, that is fine. This just is another way we're trying to help you. So I encourage you to express that interest early, get those conversations with us started as soon as possible, because we really do want to help you craft a very competitive and successful application. From there, what you're doing right now and where we currently are is you're participating in webinars. So for spring, all the way through early summer, we do have webinars upcoming, and I have a slide in just a few moments that say the rest of our upcoming webinars. But I really encourage you to register for as many webinars as you would like. As I've been seeing in the chat, a lot of people are asking for the slide deck and asking for the recordings. We do record every webinar. We post them online, typically within 5 business days. And then we do also provide copies of those slide decks that you can take a look at afterwards. So if you register, even if you can't attend, you will be on the list to, again, receive those updates about the program. From there, for the rest of spring, summer, all the way into early fall, you'll start to work on your plan and proposal. We really urge you not to wait to the last minute because, again, these applications typically revolve around working with multiple people on campus to really gather the relevant information and put in place a successful plan. So we encourage you to work on it over the summer for that October 15th deadline. If you have any questions, as Greta and I have been saying, we are in the inboxes. We do answer phone calls. I will be having office hours in the summer for you to attend. They'll be group-based and where we can all interact with each other. You can hear what other institutions have as questions. But again, we really want to help you, but we do urge you to really set forth a plan, divide up the work among your colleagues, and really put forth an excellent proposal. As far as resources, as I mentioned earlier, our website is a great resource for all of you. The interest survey is hyperlinked here. And again, when you get the slide deck, you'll be able to click any of these links. But these links I will also send to you in my follow-up message. Our application is live. It went live on, I believe, March 15th. It will be live until October 15th. So I really urge you to start an application as soon as possible. Another pro tip I'll say is if you are working with multiple colleagues, only one of you should start an application. The reason I say this is in the past, multiple people from an institution will start an application and they'll hit submit. But as I send reminders 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, 1 week out saying you haven't submitted, people tend to get worried that their application wasn't submitted when in fact it was because someone else has started an application and they are getting those reminders. So again, I urge you, designate one person who will take responsibility for uploading the materials into the application and actually hitting submit on or before October 15th. We are finalizing our application guidelines. They will be live this week. These application guidelines really mirror and mimic the application and walk you through everything Greta just told you about. They have leading questions and topics for you to address and give you any parameters if it is a specific document that you upload. A lot of the questions we have removed from that previous narrative proposal we used to have, and they're actually embedded in the application, and they'll have character limits and guidelines for you. So again, that is really the best resource that you can utilize as you're in that application, is to really have that guideline, those guidelines open every time that you're working on it. Our webinar series, again, I'll show you the upcoming ones, I believe, on the next slide. But we also will have these advising sessions that I will email you once you've completed your interest survey with a link to set up a one-on-one advising time with me. You can invite any of your colleagues to it as well. I've had upwards of 6 people on an advising session, but I really look forward to engaging with you and your colleagues to answer any key questions you might have. And then our office hours will be starting, I believe, next month. So do keep an eye out for those. And then we do have institution and scholar stories on our website. We're going to be crafting more of these to help you along the way. But again, we really just want to assist you. We want to make this process as painless as possible. As promised, we do have 4 upcoming webinars. We will have 2 alumni host panels. Both of these panels have specific topics that are really geared and centered around very key components of the application. The first is about your internationalization goals and efforts, and the second being how this can benefit your campus community. Those are two key components, as Greta mentioned, in your application that you will want to craft. And we will be joined by at least one, in most cases, two past SIR hosts who will share their expertise and how they utilize the Scholar in Residence program to really impact their campuses. For the other overview opportunities, we will have one session geared towards community colleges and minority serving institutions. So if you are coming from one of those institutional backgrounds, I encourage you to join us there. Again, we'll have at least one, if not two, host institutions from both types of those backgrounds present to give you advice on how they utilize the SIR program to craft a successful, compelling, and competitive application. And then the last webinar I encourage all of you to register for is our application walkthrough, where we will actually go live into the application page by page and showcase you any components that you will run into and highlight pro tips or maybe ways to avoid certain pitfalls and just really emphasize what we're looking for in that application. Before we go into the Q&As, we have a lot of questions in the deck that I will get to first, but I encourage you all to submit. We have two other opportunities I really want to emphasize that are seeking institutional hosts. And having looked at the attendee list, I know many of you have participated in one, if not both of these programs. The first is the Outreach Lecturing Fund. This is an opportunity that is a little more of a low-hanging fruit that is easily accessible for you and your institutions to participate. This allows you to host any of those 900 visiting scholars who are currently in the United States, an opportunity for you to host them on your campus anywhere from 2 to 6 days. Traditionally, this program is a travel grant that actually pays a scholar to get to your campus. Currently, for this semester, we are still operating in a virtual capacity. However, we are hopeful that in the future, maybe this fall, we can start to transition to having these events back to in-person. But again, do touch base with us in the summer. We'll let you know if we are making that transition, but we are hopeful to, again, resume those in-person visits at the earliest opportunity possible. These scholars can talk about their discipline, their culture, any topics that really might resonate with you and your campus, with your classroom, the larger campus community. I really urge you to look at what they're currently researching and their backgrounds and invite them to your campus. This also is a great way to get your feet wet before you actually bring that scholar in residence to your campus. The second opportunity is the Fulbright Language Teaching Assistant Program, FLTA. This program allows you to host native speaking language teaching assistants that can enhance your students' understanding of different languages and cultures. These can be languages that your campus already teaches, or it might be a language that you want to see if there is that interest on your campus and offer this opportunity to see, is this an area we want to grow? These can be for credit or not for credit, and there is additional funding set aside for those which are less commonly taught languages. But any language that you can think of, I'm confident that we can find an FLTA to really fit that bill. And if you have any questions, Derek Cook's email is listed on this screen. But Vincent, if you do have questions on this line, Vincent is also on the call still with us that we can address and answer any of those questions. Before I move on, Vincent, do you have anything else that you would like to say about either of these programs before we go to the questions?
I don't have anything big to say. I think that you covered it really very well, but the idea of the OLF right now being virtual is not the norm. It is not at all, the goal isn't to get people on a screen in front of folks at a different campus, but due to the pandemic, there are bright sides to the fact that this is a virtual activity right now. It does make it extremely easy to host. So it's something that in the short run, you all may want to just check out. But then in the long run, I agree. The FLTAs are a really great opportunity to host some assistants on campus in the language departments And, you know, they're sort of young, vibrant, exciting students. Actually, they're young, vibrant, exciting teachers of English in their home countries who teach, you know, their native languages in the United States, and really do connect with students and faculty. They're an interesting kind of bridge, I think, in a way to really internationalize your campus as well. So these two programs, I think, are really great for different audiences and meet the different needs that host institutions might have in their internationalization goals, or just, you know, a really fun way to bring some, you know, culture and learning onto your campus.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Vincent. All right. So without further ado, this is our last slide. Our email is listed here, as well as all of the links. Again, they're going to be in the email to you. I'm about to put the survey link in the chat, but I do want to kick off the questions. And we've gone this one multiple times. So Greta, if you can just address this one question of, is it possible for institutions to submit more than one application in a cycle, especially if they're coming from different departments or colleges on a campus?
So that question is, hang on, that's a question we receive frequently. And on our website, I encourage all of you to look at your frequently asked questions, which is cies.org/SIR. And I'm just going to make sure that I answer the question correctly. Give me a moment. So while an institution may submit more than one application from different departments, only one proposal from the institution will ultimately be funded. So therefore, we recommend applicants speak with their leadership to coordinate cross-departmental needs and efforts to submit a single application. An application from an institution proposing to host a scholar in two different departments simultaneously or for a semester each would be considered, providing that the scholar has the requisite experience and expertise. So that is it is a frequently asked question, and we do encourage that cross-campus work to strengthen your application rather than compete with one another.
Great. Thanks so much, Greta. Another question that came in is, how many world regions can be included in the request for a recruited SIR? It's a great question, but you do need to designate one world region and up to 2 countries within that region. So you cannot choose a scholar from India and Australia, as you would be selecting 2 different regions. This is really imperative, as one of the questions in the application, as Greta mentioned, is why did you choose that world region and country? So do make sure that that is part of your application, and we will do our best to work with our colleagues at the Fulbright commissions and U.S. embassies overseas to help you recruit those scholars. I do have another question that Vincent and Greta, I'd encourage you both to think about this one, is we have a question from a bilingual campus, and they have some programs that are only offered in Spanish. First of all, is this possible to have a scholar teach in their native language other than English? And is there a waiver for that English proficiency requirement in this case?
I'm going to duck this and ask Greta about this. I don't know if there's been a precedent for that, to be honest.
I think sometimes this phrased in this precise way, I think we have to give it some more thought, specifically about the waiver of the English language proficiency requirement, which is a part of the Foreign Scholarship Board's requirements for the visiting scholar program at large. I will say that some past scholar in residence programs have, of course, we see an alignment between the student body and institutional type and the local community where the scholar is going, an alignment between that local community and the home country. So for example, a Hispanic institution, a Hispanic serving institution hosting a scholar from a Spanish-speaking region of the world, and the content of the subject matter for the courses is engaging with topics related to Latin America or their home country. So there is a lot that one can do to align. I think the question of whether courses could be offered in another language or whether the English language proficiency requirement could be waived is something we'd have to discuss with you individually. So I'd encourage whoever asked the question to email it to sir@iie.org, and we'll work with you to get a clearer answer to your specific question.
Great. Thank you both. The next question we have is regarding if there's any preference about fields for the scholar, if we prefer more social sciences versus STEM. I'm happy to kick this off, and then Vincent, Greta, I welcome you to provide any other thoughts. There is no preference between the two. However, the one caveat and challenge I have for you is traditionally, we tend to see applications from social sciences and humanities. Does not mean that we've not seen a successful STEM application in the past, but the challenge for you all is really to critically think about how bringing in a scholar from this field, when they're coming into your classroom, how they can help internationalize that curriculum and course. So you do have to do a little bit more work because historically it is easier on the humanities side of things to offer that international perspective in that classroom or in the course materials. So that is my tidbit there. Greta or Vincent, any other thoughts with this?
I would just add that with any field, and Sarah's right that sometimes it takes a little bit more effort on the STEM proposals, but please make it obvious what the internationalization component will be of your scholars program, regardless of their field. So if you're proposing to host a scientist, talk about how their subject of expertise, is based in a particular regional context. I think I've seen proposals with, environmental studies and making a comparison between their home community and the host community because they are similar climates, there are lots of ways in which community-based experiences can really benefit from that international perspective, regardless of the field. I just want to make it clear that we are looking for that internationalization and not solely the merits of a research project in any field, including STEM.
Yeah, and I don't really have anything to add to either of those answers, which I think were great. I would say, though, in addition to that, to sort of reemphasize the fact that, the cultural piece of this, or the community building or community connecting, I guess, between your campus and the SIR's home campus is a piece as well. So, it's one thing to have someone come over and to quote, teach a subject, which is what they're going to be doing technically. But, the idea of how, how the presence of this individual on campus really benefits the campus and the campus community, outside of the academic setting, I think is something that's always, it always needs to be covered. And I think that the unique way that it is covered really benefits applications in some cases.
Perfect. And I do know we're at time. I just have two more questions that I really think are important to cover. And for those of you who we do not get to answer them live, please do email me. We will make sure to get your questions answered. The first of which is, does the Scholar in Residence program tend to focus more on higher education institutions that have less internationalized campuses overall, or are research-intensive public flagship universities with some level of existing campus internationalizations eligible and competitive for these awards? Excuse me. Greta or Vincent, would you like to take this one?
I can field it, Vincent, unless you want to start.
Hey, go ahead, Greta. It's fine.
So I would say what we're really looking for is measurable impact. So you can demonstrate impact whether you have limited internationalization on your campus or whether you have more of a baseline to work from. There are many, so I think we're looking for how far the Scholar in Residence program is able to take your institutional goals during the proposed program period. And we're going to be sensitive to the fact that every institution is different. Every institution starts at a different point. We may have applicants in the, community colleges with a long history of foreign language instruction and robust international studies components applying for the program, or we may have a Research One university applying for the program that has robust international opportunities, but perhaps the applying department has very limited access to visiting scholars or international content within their departmental curriculum. So there's an argument to be made for your institution, and that's what we're looking to see is your impact, your how will this contribute to your unique goals, and tell us why you need this program to help you achieve those goals.
Great. And then the last question, because I think it's just so pertinent, is we have a question from an institution that is a very small college town, 200 miles from an international airport. They can offer campus support like office supplies, computer access, things like that, but they don't have on-campus housing, and it would be really imperative, nor local public transportation. So this would be a great challenge for visitors. Knowing that, what would you propose to institutions like this that are in more of a rural environment? Vincent and Greta, any words of wisdom here?
I think what I would encourage applicants to do, regardless of the setting in which your institution is, although I know each institution is going to be different, each community is going to be different, think creatively about what your scholar is going to need to be successful carrying out the program that you're proposing. If that need includes transportation or housing closer to campus or both, I've seen scholars in residence have incredibly successful exchanges in rural communities where their living arrangement is something, sharing a home with a host faculty member and commuting with them to the campus for a semester on the days that they teach. And I would encourage you to think about, that does seem like a lot to commit. I understand that when you're just at the application phase, but I will say if you can think creatively about the community that's hosting and not just one individual, you can come up with good solutions to some of these very real logistical challenges that are going to be faced in more remote areas. And those scholars, I'm thinking of one or two examples when I've met with scholars. They've often talked about some of these more unusual or collaborative approaches to overcoming logistical barriers as some of the highlights of their exchange. They got to know their hosts much better through some of those creative solutions, and that really deepened their relationship and the exchange over the period of time. Now, that said, that answer may not answer all of your logistical questions. So please continue to work with us over email to figure out what might be reasonable for your campuses, and we can consider those specific needs on a case-by-case basis.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Again, I know we're over time, but I just really want to thank both Vincent and Greta for being here today and assisting us with their area of expertise within these programs. We really look forward to partnering with all of you on your interests for this wonderful program. And if you do have questions, please reach out. But Greta, Vincent, thank you both so much.
I know we're signing off, but let us also thank Sarah Causer, who's expert advising of all of the institutional applicants, is invaluable. And I think you can hear from her own experience how helpful she will be and the rest of our Fulbright staff will be to you all as you craft your application. So thank you, Sarah, for hosting and for your work on this incredible program.
Of course, anytime. Well, we hope you all have a wonderful week, and we will get this recording to you as soon as possible. Take care, everyone.